good to be here. Has anyone ever had the Grinch before? The Grinch story before? You do? It's one of my favorite Christmas stories. So every Christmas, the elves get to pick what movies they want to watch, and guess what they often pick? The Grinch. You have one too? So we're going to read it today, because again, it's the elf's favorite story. So I thought it'd be best to read that in Tallahassee. What do you think? Yeah. Who here lives in Tallahassee? Or close by?
Raise your hand.
Okay. This is my favorite place to come, my favorite city. So it's good to be back. Is your brother? Are you a good big sister? I believe it. 6 and 3. Are you a good big sister? I believe it. I believe it. So is everyone ready to read? And then the elves brought candy canes for everybody afterwards. Are you ready? Okay, let's do it. The Grinch is, again, the favorite story in all the North Pole. So anytime you hear that story, you can remember that. It's everyone's favorite story, favorite movie in the whole place. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. We don't want anyone to steal Christmas. That'd be big problems for me. I'd lose my job. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. You like Christmas a lot? Or just a little bit? Does anybody like Thanksgiving better than Christmas? Okay, just making sure. What about St. Patrick's Day? Do you like it better than Christmas? Is that why you're wearing green? That's a green Christmas shirt, not St. Patrick's Day, right? All right, well, Christmas is the best. Here we go. But the Grinch who lived just north of Whoville did not. The Grinch hated Christmas. I know. The whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight. But I think the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve hating the Who's. It's not okay to hate anybody, is it? Never. Staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they were hanging their stockings. He snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas. It's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers, nervously drumming. I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow he knew, told in this book. He hated Christmas and didn't want it to come. All the Who girls and boys would wake up bright and early. They'd rush for their toys, and then oh the noise, 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 noise. The one thing he hated, the noise, noise, noise. One of the best parts of Christmas is the noise. The music, the kids laughing, the ho-ho-hos, and the cookies crumbling. That's my favorite part, probably. That's a good point you brought up. At nighttime, I eat them for breakfast. Well, I don't think you should do that. Because I don't like Mom and Dad being mad at me.
Sometimes we eat donuts.
That's a great breakfast. That's what I have for lunch. Then the Who's, young and old, would sit down to a feast, and they'd feast and they'd feast and they'd feast, feast, feast. They would feast on Who pudding. Who pudding? What's that? And rare Who roast beef. You ever had Who roast beef? Which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. And then they'd do something he'd like least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Who's would start singing.
That's what the Grinch likes.
He does not like it. He doesn't like happy noises, because he's a Grinch. They'd sing and they'd sing, and they'd sing, 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 and the whole Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing. The more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I've put up with it now. I must stop this Christmas from coming, but how? Here he is. There's the Grinch. Then he got an idea, an awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do, the Grinch laughed in his throat. He made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he chuckled and chucked. What a great Grinchy trick. with this coat and this hat, I just look like Saint Nick. He dressed up like me.
Well, he didn't have a beard.
I know, I didn't give him permission to use my clothes. I wonder where he got that from. And all I need is a reindeer, the Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Why? They're at the North Pole. But that stopped the old Grinch, did not know. No, the Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. He called his dog Max when he took some red thread, and he tied a big horn at the top of his head. I know, poor Max has to be a reindeer instead of a dog. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. And the Grinch said, get out! And the sleigh started down towards the homes where the Who's lay a snooze in their town. See what he's doing? Okay. All their windows were dark, quite snow filled the air, and the Who's were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square, this is stop number 1, the old Grinch Claus hissed, and he climbed on the roof, empty bags in his fist. He is, I know. He's right. He slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch. Here he is, going to their houses. But if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once for a moment or two, then he stuck his head out on the fireplace flue. Where the little Who stockings all hung in a row, these stockings, he grinned, are the first things to go. He's taking them all away. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant. Around the whole room, he took every present. Pop guns and bikes and roller skates and drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn, and plums. Anybody get plums for Christmas? Okay. And he stuffed them in bags. Anybody want me to bring them plums for Christmas? Okay. Then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags, one by one, up the chimney. Look at this. He's really trying to ruin Christmas for all the boys and girls by taking down all their decorations, stealing their presents. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast, the Christmas dinner, he's taking that too. He took the Who pudding, he took the roast beef. He cleaned out the icebox as quick as a flash. Why, the Grinch even took their last can of Who hash. You ever had Who's hash? It's a breakfast food.
It is.
You are listening. Your shirt's false advertisement. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. And now, grinned the Grinch, I will stuff up the tree. And the Grinch grabbed the tree. Look, he grabbed the tree. And he started to shove. When he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove, he turned around fast and he saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught up by this tiny Who daughter who got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why? Again, he's not really Santa, is he? He's the Grinch. But you know the old Grinch was so smart and so slick. He thought up a lie and thought it up quick. Why, my sweet little tot, the fake Santa Claus lied. There's a light on his tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here. And he fibbed, fooled the child, then he patted her head, and he got her a drink and sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. And the last thing he took was the log of the fire. He even took their Christmas fire in their fireplace. Then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar. On their walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire, and the one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. Then he did the same thing to the other Who houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who mouses, went to every house in the neighborhood and took all their Christmas stuff. It was 15:15 dawn, all the Who's still in bed, all the Who's still a snooze, and he packed up his sled. Packed up their presents, their ribbons, their wrappings, their tags and their tinsels, their trimmings, their trappings. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it. Pooh-pooh to the Who's, he was richly humming, then finding out now that no Christmas was coming. They're just waking up. I know what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two. And the Who's down in Whoville will all cry, boo-hoo. Everybody say, boo-hoo. That's what's going to happen, he thinks.
But he's going to break on a fight.
I'm not sure what he's going to do. That's a noise.
And then he's going to, then other people's
story. You are listening. That's a noise, grinned the Grinch, that I simply must hear. As he paused, the Grinch put his hand to his ear, and he did hear a sound ringing over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. What is that sound? Oh, you have? But the sound wasn't sad. The sound sounded merry. You're right. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes, and he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped from Christmas coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch with his Grinch feet, ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. And the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas perhaps means a little bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes in one day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with a load through the bright morning light. And he brought back the toys and the food for the feast, and he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beef. You see, even though I like my job and like bringing kids presents, you don't have to have lots of presents to have a great Christmas, do you? Right? You can be with your family, and you can have joy in your heart, and you can love each other, right? So you can have Christmas and enjoy without all the things. And the Grinch thought that the Who's had to have presents in order to be happy at Christmas. But they could be happy because they had joy in their heart. Isn't that a cool story? And then at their joy made him have joy. How neat is that? Our joy can impact others. Isn't that neat? I don't think so. I think I'm just doing the elf's favorite book. So thank you for letting me read to you, everyone. Merry Christmas.